Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah bil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa ba'd. So inshallah, the plan for today is to do a brief overview of the fiqh and the laws of fasting. The content which we plan to cover, in fact, can take a couple hours. So inshallah, we will do a brief overview. Feel free to ask questions. Inshallah, we will also have Q&A in the end as well. And learning these masail and learning these laws and rules is extremely important. For example, a simple thing like if a person eats forgetfully while fasting. One might think that your fast breaks, but the fact of the matter is that the fast does not break by eating forgetfully. And there are also many other similar rulings. Knowing the correct rulings, knowing when your fast breaks in reality, knowing when your fast does not break by doing certain things, knowing the medical restrictions, what happens if a medical situation arises, and knowing what happens during various situations. A person sets their alarm and their alarm doesn't go off. So for that reason, learning the fiqh is extremely important. And inshallah, we will do our best to cover most of the FAQs, the frequently asked questions, or the common scenarios which occurred while fasting. So as I mentioned, inshallah, we want to make this interactive, and we also want, inshallah, people to gain maximum benefit. So if you have any questions along the way, if you have any questions in the end, inshallah, we will do our best to cover them. So with that, let us start with the definition of fasting. So the definition of fasting is to withhold from eating, drinking, and sexual relations during the daylight hours. And to further clarify, daylight hours from the first light, which is the beginning of the Fajr time, all the way till the setting of the sun, which is the beginning of the Maghrib time. So what is also required, an intention is also required as well. Without the intention, the fast will not be valid. For example, if a person involuntarily falls unconscious and they never intended to fast, and yet let's say they were unconscious during the whole daytime, the fast will not be valid because the intention was not there. And the last part of the definition, performed by one capable and required to do so. Right? So, as you can see from this, that a child, for example, a child that fasts, they might get the reward for it, but technically that will not be a complete fast because the child is not of age. So now let us go on to the definition of intention. The niyyah, or the intention of fasting, is necessary, right, as we explained above. If a person abstains from all those things that break one's fast without intention, the fast will not be valid. For example, someone was so busy that they did not find time to eat or drink anything from dawn to sunset. Another important aspect of the intention is that it is not a requirement to verbally state the intention. For example, many of us growing up, we might have learned the Arabic intention, or we might even have memorized the Arabic intention. Nawaitu hada sawm lillahi ta'ala, and so on. So it is not necessary to speak or to verbalize the intention in Arabic, nor is it even necessary to verbalize the intention in English. As long as the person knows in their heart and they comprehend that they will be fasting for the next day, and they have made up their mind they are fasting for the next day, that is sufficient. Okay, so another important thing to keep in mind is the time frame for the intention. According to the Hanafi school of thought, it is not a requirement for the person to make the intention from before the fast begins. So let me clarify that. The person has some leeway in finalizing the intention. So the person can make the fast up to midday of the day which they are fasting. So the definition of midday here is dividing the time between the entrance of Fajr and that of Maghrib by half. So you may ask, what is the purpose behind this, and what does this mean? It simply means, for example, let's say you a particular person is nauseous or they're sick and they want to play it by ear. So what they can do is they can wake up in the morning, they can have their suhoor, and they can stay hungry and not eat or not drink or not have relations, not have intimate relations from the beginning time of the fast. Then because they haven't made the intention yet, they can wait and see, and they have up till midday to finalize that intention. So depending on their health and depending on other factors, they can wait till roughly around noon, somewhere, the exact time is roughly somewhere between 12 and 1. And before that midday point, if their health is better, they can say, okay, I'm gonna fast the rest of the day, and their fast will count. And for example, if they feel that they're about to throw up, or if they don't feel well, or if it's gonna be very difficult, then they can simply not keep the intention of fasting, and they will not have broken the fast. So does everyone understand the objective behind that? Right. So the intention can be made up till midday. Right. The intention can be made up till midday. So a person can finalize their intention for fasting up till midday. Okay, going on, we'll discuss some of the desirable acts while fasting. So among the desirable acts, what sometimes we call sihri or suhoor. So this is also a sunnah practice and a recommended practice. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ explained the difference between our fast and the fast of the Jews and Christians is that we wake up for suhoor, we wake up for sahri, and we eat food shortly before starting the fast, before the beginning of the Fajr time. It is also recommended to delay the suhoor, if possible, to right before Subh Sadiq, right before the beginning of the Fajr time. Okay. Another recommended practice is to break the fast immediately after sunset. Right? And unless there's a necessity, we should not delay in doing so. Right? There's extra blessings for breaking the fast at the right time, as soon as the sun sets. Another recommended practice is to break one's fast with fresh dates if available, as we refer to as rutab. Fresh dates if available. If that's not available, then with dry dates. And if no dates are available, then with water. There's, for those who are interested, there's also some scientific studies as well that what are the benefits of, or why did the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in particular mention breaking your fast with dates, right? And as we know, dates have sugar. So when a person has not eaten food or drunk any liquid throughout the day, one of the best ways to re-energize that body and to recalibrate the sugar levels and the energy levels of that body is through dates. Right? It is one of the dates is a superfood, and it's one of the best ways for the body to start regaining its energy and regaining important nutrients. So there's some great wisdom in the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ recommending that we break our fast, particularly with dates. Okay, another desirable act to make intention starting from the night. Okay, so now going on to the next discussion topic, things that break one's fast. Okay, so it's, as I mentioned, learning the rules or learning the laws is important. And in particular, in some situations, there are punishments or there are penalties. The more accurate word is, there are penalties for breaking one's fast. So this is something we should be aware of, and we should do our best to avoid. So this term kafara, you've seen this Arabic term kafara is used, and the term qada is used. So to clarify, qada means if a person breaks their fast, they'll have to make up that fast. And kafara means, along with, if the person breaks their fast, along with having to make up that day of fasting, the person will have to also pay a penalty, or the person will also have to fulfill a penalty by fasting for 60 days continuously. Right? So naturally, fasting for 60 days continuously is like 2 Ramadans. and you can't take a break in between. So you want to do your best to avoid a situation where you have to do a kafara, right? I've had friends who had to keep 60 fasts continuously. It's not easy, right? So that's why it's important to know the correct rulings and to avoid situations where one will have to do the kafara, to avoid situations where one will have to give the penalty of 60 days. Okay. Okay. So if a person, there are alternatives for the kafara. If the person is unable to fast for 60 days continuously, there are some other options as well. So the 4 options include, if you can scroll down, the 4 options or the four alternatives include feeding 60 people for 2 meals, or feeding 1 person for 60 days in a row, or giving them the equivalent in wheat, which is approximately 3.5 pounds of wheat, or giving the cash value. So these are specific situations for those people who have to give the penalties. Okay, any questions up to there? And we're just discussing the definition of the kafara and the penalty.
You're not allowed to Mufti Abdullah, you're not allowed to do those alternatives unless you're unable to fast 60 days, right?
That's correct. That's correct. So for those of us who are young and healthy, we would have to fast for 60 days. That is correct. Okay. So going forward, you might ask, what are those situations which a person has to perform, pay the penalty and fast for 60 days straight? Right. So these are the situations. There's 4 scenarios: eating, drinking, or breaking the fast in any other manner without a valid reason. Right? Will make both qada and kafara necessary. And for example, here, a valid reason will include medical reasons. Right? Will include medical reasons. So for example, a person is fasting and they need to take the allergy, or they're about to fall extremely sick and they need to take medicine, then that will be a valid reason. Okay. The second scenario, so thinking that one's fast is broken, in other words, mistakenly thinking that their fast is broken, and afterwards eating and drinking intentionally after that. Right? So that's why learning the correct laws is important, because there are many things which people think cause one's fast to break, but they don't. So here, this person mistakenly thought their fast had broken, and then they went ahead and really broke their fast. So in the second situation where they really broke their fast, they will now have to give the penalty of 60 fasts. Okay, so number 3, to take any type of medicine intentionally, either through the mouth or applied through the nose. And the conditional clause here is without a valid medical reason, or without a valid medical necessity. Right? So, for example, here taking any medicine would include taking Tylenol, would include, for example, taking nasal spray or any other type of medicine without a valid medical need. So, for example, vitamins, right? A person can live without vitamins. Vitamins are not a medical need or medical necessity. And those of you who might be asking, what about people who have asthma? My mother has asthma as well. And what if a person gets an asthma attack? So I am part of a group called the American Fiqh Academy. Our next, I might be giving it away, but our next research topic was supposed to be, before the whole coronavirus situation, was supposed to be asthma inhalers. So that is a topic which we were about to research. The default position is that an asthma inhaler, because it's taken through the mouth and particles do go down, the classical position is an asthma inhaler will break the fast. But of course, if a person has an asthma attack, they don't have a choice, that will be considered a medical necessity. Okay. The fourth scenario, to have sexual intercourse intentionally while remembering that one is fasting. So in this case, there will also be the penalty of fasting for 60 days. Okay. Any questions for that section?
One question I have, Mufti Abdullah, was isn't number one like everything? Like, isn't eating, drinking, or breaking the fast? And isn't that like every possible? Like, what
It,
is the point 2, 3, and 4? I guess.
you're right. So I guess the 2, 3, and 4 are simply for clarification.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, number one already includes breaking the fast in any other manner. That includes sexual intercourse as well. So you are right. You are
Okay.
right.
I just want to just make sure. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. So let's go on the next category. So the next category is those things which will break the fast, but the person will only have to make up that day of fasting. The person will only have to make up that day of fasting. In other words, no penalty. So, number one, anything put by force into the mouth of a fasting person. So, for example, if a friend puts something in your mouth forcefully and you didn't want to eat it, then you only have to make up that day of fasting. Another example, a person was gargling and some extra water accidentally went down their throat. They will just have to make up that day of fasting. Okay, another common question which is asked. We as scholars and imams and muftis, we're on call in the month of Ramadan, and I would argue we work overtime. Right? We wake up in the morning. There's 5 text messages. I did this. Did my fast break or not? So one of the most common questions is about vomiting, and we're here to learn. So learning these laws will help us. If a person unintentionally vomits, and the vomit comes out of their mouth, they clean their mouth after that, that fast will not break. So it's important to note, vomiting unintentionally does not cause the fast to break, no matter how much vomit comes out. Yes, to vomit intentionally. In other words, for example, you put your finger down your throat and you purposely vomit. If it's a mouthful, then it will cause your fast to break. If it's less than a mouthful, it will not cause your fast to break. Okay, the other scenario is that a person has vomit come out, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, and they swallow it back down. Right? So that's the scenario that's being discussed here. So if a person swallows it back down, then their fast will break as well. Okay, so does everyone understand those the 3 scenarios there? So I've mentioned a scenario which is not in the book, which is not listed here, which does not cause your fast to break, which is unintentionally. But if a person vomits a mouthful intentionally, their fast will break. And likewise, if they vomit and they cause any part of that to go back down their throat, their fast will break as well. Right? So people who are, for example, who get stomach flu while they're fasting, their fast will not break. They're not required to break the fast. And if they do throw up, then simply wash the mouth afterwards, and they can keep fasting. Okay. So intentionally swallowing a pebble or piece of paper, which is not normally eaten as food, you have to make up that fast. And also, let's say a person has some food stuck between their teeth. So the ruling is, this is roughly the size, if it's the amount of food stuck between the teeth is larger than a chickpea, then eating that while you're fasting, your fast will break. If it's smaller than a chickpea, then it won't cause the fast to break. Okay. Also, putting oil in the nose or putting oil in the ear. And here there's some additional notes here as well. Putting oil in the ear or putting medicine in the ear will not cause the fast to break unless the person has perforated membranes. Okay. Yeah, you can scroll further down, please. Okay. So inhaling snuff into the nostrils. So snuff here, referring to tobacco or referring to some sort of medicine. Just for those who might be interested, smoking while fasting, the fast will break, and many scholars say you have to give the 60. You have to keep the penalty of 60 fasts as well. Okay, so 9 is asthma medicine. So this is now discussing. We already discussed it previously. Taking the asthma inhaler while fasting will cause the fast to break. okay, to purposely inhale smoke or steam. So this is where I was alluding towards smoking. So for example, a person puts water vapor, or they put what we call incense sticks, right? Agarbatti or incense sticks. Sorry, incense sticks. If you inhale that smoke that comes off from the incense stick, your fast will break as well. Okay, this is another scenario. What if a person, their gums start bleeding in the month of Ramadan? So if the amount of blood is sufficient to turn the saliva red, and then the person swallows it, their fast will break. And if it's only a minuscule amount of blood and the saliva still looks white, and the predominant color is white, then the fast will not break. Okay. And number 12 is something I mentioned earlier, to eat or drink forgetfully. So the books of hadith mention this. Any food that the person eats or any water that the person drinks forgetfully while fasting is a source of sustenance which Allah Ta'ala has provided that person. Right? Provided it was forgetfully, it's not intentionally. Okay? Does inhaling cologne or perfume break? No, it does not. Right? So the scholars are differentiated. Perfume, it's an odor or it's a smell that you're smelling. Whereas, for example, smoke, right? For example, from water vapor or and so on, that is a essence which is going down into your nose, which there are particles that you're inhaling into your nose. So there's a difference between, for example, smoke, and there's a difference between perfume or smells. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Okay. What about wearing makeup like lipstick? Yeah. Okay. So that the challenge is putting on lip balm, for example, or lipstick. If it remains on your lip, then your fast doesn't break. But as we know, if a person puts on lipstick or lip gloss or lip balm, even if a particle of that accidentally swallowed down the throat, your fast is going to break. Right? So I would, especially around the mouth area, I would be careful on applying anything, because there's a good chance it's going to go down your throat and your fast would break. Okay. Any more questions? Yeah, feel free, you guys. You can ask questions at any time. Inshallah, we will also leave some time at the end for questions as well. Okay, another scenario, 13 is eating or drinking while thinking that there's still time to eat or drink. Right? So for example, the person didn't have a watch and they thought there was still time, and they looked at their watch and they realized that the time for fasting already started. Right? So this is a mistake. Or for example, they broke their fast early. They thought the time is already, the fast is broken, and then they realized they made a mistake. So there'll be no penalty here of 60 days, but their fast will break. Okay. Applying an enema into the anus, that will also cause the fast to break. And so 15, applying medicine into the woman's urinary organs will not cause the fast to break. And this is the research of muftis nowadays. Okay. Another 16. Oh, sorry. Okay. What about eating dead skin for the lips? So eating dead skin for the lips will also cause the fast to break. So a good rule of thumb is anything from outside the mouth which goes into the mouth and goes down the stomach will cause the fast to break. Right? Any object external to the mouth. That's a good way to understand it. Any object external to the mouth which goes into the mouth and goes down the stomach will cause the fast to break. Okay. So next one, for a woman to start her period while fasting. Right? So the fast will break, and she will have to make up that day later on. And although this is another topic, but masturbating while fasting, if the person masturbates and ejaculates, the fast will break. Right? But luckily, they will not have to give the penalty. They will not have to fast for 60 days. Okay, so we're done with that section. The above section was things that cause the fast to break, but you only have to make up one day of fasting. You have to make up that day. in which the fast was broken. Okay, sorry, I can't read the whole question here. Okay, what if the woman gets her period 2 or 3 minutes before Maghrib? Okay, so if the woman gets her period 2 or 3 minutes before Maghrib, she will still have to break her fast. Yeah, unfortunately, she will still have to break the fast because the requirement is during the whole period of time of the fast, she is free of her period. So she will have to still make up that day of fasting. Okay, so here I'll go, if you don't mind, I'll go a little bit quicker here. I want to make sure we finish on time as well, and you guys have time to read Salat al-Dhuhr, and inshallah we want to leave some time for Q&A. So these are things which do not break the fast. Some of these are weird situations. So I'll just go through the common ones. Okay, to eat or drink something forgetfully does not cause the fast to break. Another important one, swallowing one's own saliva. And that also includes phlegm, or what we call balgham, or lugis, whatever word you want to use. Sorry, these are just different terms. Phlegm, so one is our own saliva, one is that saliva which is thick, full of mucus. Swallowing that does not cause your fast to break as well. Right? So there's no need for people while fasting to hawk lugis and to be seen spitting all over the place. Right? That will not cause your fast to break. Another common question, taking injection, which also includes IVs as well. Right? So I get asked this all the time. I'm fasting, I have to go take a shot, I have to go draw blood, etc. Both these situations will not cause the fast to break, including taking IV, being on IV as well, will not cause the fast to break. So number 7, taking insulin injection while fasting will also not cause the fast to break. Okay, applying medicine to the, okay, sorry, there's a question here. Okay, there is a difference of opinion. So regarding swallowing phlegm, so according to the Hanafi school of thought, this presentation is based on the Hanafi school of thought. According to the Hanafi school of thought, the fast will not break by swallowing phlegm. I believe it is according to some of the other schools of thought, including the Shafi'i school of thought, the fast will break by swallowing phlegm. So if you follow another school of thought, you can refer to the scholars to the scholars and the specialists of that field. Okay. Another common question: applying medicine to the eyes or applying surma or antimony to the eyes. That will also not cause the fast to break. Taking a bath will also not cause the fast to break, and to vomit unintentionally will also not cause the fast to break. If you can scroll further down, please. Okay. Inhaling smoke unintentionally. Right? So, for example, there was a fire, and you were walking past a fire, and you unintentionally inhaled some smoke. Right? That will not cause your fast to break. Okay, this is the one common question we get asked: brushing the teeth without toothpaste or powder. Right? And for example, using a miswak. So you might ask the question: what's the ruling about using toothpaste while fasting? Right? Especially people who go to work, people want to ensure that their breath smells good while fasting. So the challenge is, with toothpaste, if one particle of that toothpaste goes down your throat, your fast will break. And the challenge is because you're brushing your teeth for a period of time, there's a strong possibility that a particle of that toothpaste will go down your throat. Right? So instead, we recommend using a miswak. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used a miswak while fasting, and the miswak also is really good in keeping your breath smelling good. Okay, another question here. Okay, regarding incense, does intention matter? What if your family burns it at home? Okay, yes, so intention does matter. Very good question. So for example, let's say a person was walking past an area where there was incense burning. So in that situation, it's involuntary. He's in that area. If that person accidentally, or that person without knowing it, inhales some of the smoke from the incense burner, their fast will not break because it was unintentional. However, as the question was asked, what if the family purposely or intentionally lights or burns the incense in the house, if the person inhales that incense in that situation, their fast will break. Right? So the intention does make a difference. Okay. Another common question. I'm just picking and choosing here, you guys. I'm just picking some common situations. Another common situation we get asked a lot of the time. I was keeping a fast. I made intention. I went to sleep after Fajr, and I had a wet dream. So what happens? Did my fast break or not? The fast does not break. The fast does not break by a person experiencing a wet dream during the day. Okay. So I've skipped through a little bit. Any questions about some of the situations which I left out, or any questions about that section? Okay, so I'll go on. Some acts which are makruh or undesirable while fasting. Right? So you can go through a list as well. You can see the general theme of these situations is those things which could lead to something going down your throat, or those things which could cause the fast to break, or could potentially cause the fast to break, right? So, for example, chewing on other things. If a person has a habit on chewing on things, avoid doing so because there's a chance your fast will break. To taste things as well is also makruh as well, right? So to taste your food, to taste something while cooking, for example, is also disliked as well. Okay. So we also said it is disliked to use toothpaste or tooth powder while fasting. Okay, these are also, I believe this was covered before as well. There is a ideal level of fasting as well. Right? So ideal level of fasting includes not complaining while fasting. We discussed, perhaps Sheikh Tahir Patel discussed the best way of fasting and the ideal way of fasting. Okay, so number 9 is also important. This also is the ideal fast. Keep in mind, fasting doesn't mean just fasting from food, water, drink, and sexual intercourse. It also means fasting from all types of sin. It also means fasting from hurting other individuals, from fighting with other individuals, and so on. So to backbite, to tell a lie, to quarrel, to argue, this is also disliked while fasting. Okay, so a few people who are exempted from fasting. Islam is a beautiful religion. Islam also factors in human needs and human situations. So, for example, if a person is sick, and even if a woman is breastfeeding, or if a woman is pregnant, and there's a fear that fasting will negatively affect their health, they're not required to fast. Likewise, if a person is traveling, they're not required to fast as well. It is optional. Okay, so the next category is regarding fidya. Okay, so I'll try to wrap things up. We want to leave some time for Q&A. So fidya is a specific situation where a person is extremely old and there's no hope of that person ever fasting again. So it's important to understand fidya, or the expiation for not being able to fast, only applies to a person who has no hope for the rest of their life ever to fast. For the rest of us who might be temporarily sick, or who might be in a temporary situation, if they miss a few days of fasting, they need to make up those days of fasting later on when they become healthy, and so on. So this is a very specific situation. For example, old people, for example, people with terminal illnesses, or people with medical conditions. So the specific ruling is instead of fasting, they can give a fidya, which works out to approximately about $7 a fast, depending on the price of wheat. Right? And because it's based on the price of wheat, it can fluctuate. This year might be different from last year. So approximately, I believe it's about $7 to $8. Right? And if a person wants more information on this, we can confirm this. Okay, a question? Okay, if you break fast unknowingly and have doubts about breaking your fast, would they be held accountable? And if they had doubts, should they perform the qada fast? No, they should not. Right? So doubts can really debilitate a person. And if a person is not careful, doubts can cause a person to read salat 25 times and repeat one day of fasting or repeat one day of salat multiple times, right? So Islam, we want to make things easy for people, and we don't want them to burn out, right? So the general principle is al-yaqinu la yazulu bishak, which means just because a person had a doubt that maybe they did something or something happened which their fast would break, that doubt is not sufficient to break their fast. Okay? Let me repeat that. A fast will not break by doubting. A fast will only break by sound knowledge or being 100% sure. So for example, you're 100% sure you took a popcorn kernel and it went down your throat and you ate it. There's no doubt in that you ate it for sure, your fast is broken. You're unsure, okay, maybe I was sleeping and maybe in my sleep I ate something, but I'm not 100% sure. No, your fast did not break. So in other words, the default position is we will assume your fast did not break because you started your fast. We will assume your fast did not break unless we know for sure something that happened that made your fast break. So doubt, do not pay attention to doubt, right? Just push it out of your mind, do not pay attention to it. Okay, any more questions? Yeah, so fidya, as I mentioned, it's a very specific situation. Inshallah, may Allah Ta'ala give us all health that we don't have to give the fidya. Fidya generally will apply to terminally ill people or people who are extremely old, right? So the rest of us, inshallah, this should not apply, inshallah. Okay, here's another question as well. Okay, good, very good question. Okay, so do you repay the fast for someone who's passed away? Okay, so the specific scenario which the individual is asking about is, let's say we have the relative, could be a parent, could be another deceased relative who passed away, and that individual, for example, had 1 month outstanding fasting which they were not able to perform. And before they passed away, they were not able to perform this fasting, and likewise they were not able to give fidya. So the correct procedure would be, if a person during their lifetime did not give the fidya themselves, number one is they should give the fidya themselves. If they're not able to do so, or they do not have the money to do so, then they should make wasiyah, or they should bequest in their will. They should make a bequest that if I pass away, I have 20 outstanding fasts, give the fidya on behalf of me, or in other words, pay the fidya on behalf of me. So the person should write this in their Islamic will. And if they forgot to do so, the relatives, if they know, for example, the person has 20 outstanding fasts, the relatives can give that money on their behalf. Right? So roughly, as I said, estimated about $7 to $8 per fast. Right? That's the estimated amount. Okay, and any more questions? Okay, a few questions here. For intention, you can make your intention until midday for a fard fast, not just a voluntary fast. Yes, for both. So for the Hanafi madhab, you can make the intention for fasting up till midday, both for the mandatory fast in the month of Ramadan, and also for optional fasts as well. Okay, so another follow-up question. Many scholars say that throwing up breaks the fast, and many say it depends on the amount you've thrown up. Does throwing up break the fast? Okay, so as we mentioned above, there's two main scenarios. Was the throwing up accidental? In other words, that person was just sick and involuntarily they threw up. Or number two, the second scenario, was that throwing up intentional? So to be fair here, the person has asked, is there a difference of opinion? Nur and other books of fiqh, there is a difference of opinion mentioned there. But the reliable opinion is as follows. If the person involuntarily throws up, they're sick, their fast will not break no matter how much they throw up. Their fast will not break. And yes, if they purposely throw up, if they voluntarily throw up more than a mouthful, their fast will break. And so that seems to be the acceptable position in the Hanafi school of thought. Okay, there were some other questions. Okay. Okay, if possible, please explain how to work out midday. Okay, sunset is 8 p.m. in Austin. Okay, so can someone tell me, as of now, when does Fajr begin in Austin? Would someone be able to help me? Okay, sunrise. Okay, so not sunrise. I would need the beginning of Fajr. The beginning of Fajr. Okay, so the beginning of Fajr is 5:38. Okay, so as we know, the timings change throughout the month of Ramadan. So this, I'm giving you an approximate figure. It's not gonna be this. It's not gonna be the exact amount for the whole month. From 5:38 to 8 p.m., it's gonna be approximately 12 hours plus 2 hours, 14 hours, 14 hours plus 22, 14 hours and 22 minutes. So in other words, the total fast, the length of the fast is what, 14 hours and 22 minutes. Half of that takes 7 hours and 11 minutes. And then add 7 hours and 11 minutes to 5:38. So I'm estimating here roughly 12:49 in Austin time, right? That would be the final time where a person will need to finalize their intention by that point in time, right? And yeah, that's that you can say the deadline for making intention for fast. Okay, so we also mentioned that there are a few du'as and prayers to read. These are the prayers that the Prophet ﷺ has taught us. So and there's a few. This is one of the more common ones. There's some other ones as well, but ideally we should memorize at least one of these prayers and read them every day when we're fasting. So the one here, Allahumma laka sumtu, it means, oh Allah, I have fasted for you. Wa bika amantu, and I have believed in you. Wa ala rizqika aftartu, and upon your food, upon that food which you have provided me, I've broken my fast. فَتَقَبَّلْ مِنِّي, oh Allah, accept it from me. Okay, so here's a few more questions here. Okay, if one had drank water during Ramadan years ago due to dehydration while fasting, do they have to perform qada and kafara? Okay, excellent question. So this question will be slightly subjective. Yes, if there was a severe medical need, and the person was about to pass out, or they were about to fall extremely sick and they drank water, inshallah, they will only have to make up that day of fasting. They will not have to do the kafara. They will not have to do the 60 fasts in a row. Okay, and a related question: do we cover the permissibility of breaking your fast if you're sick? How sick do you have to be? So the answer to that also is a medical need or a severe medical need. Right? So severe medical need, for example, the person is about to pass out, or the person is about to have emergency surgery, or the person, for example, severe medical need, for example, asthma inhaler. The person has an asthma attack. They have to take that medicine. The person is about to fall extremely sick. They need to take some medicine. The person, for example, is diabetic, etc. So they're about to fall unconscious if they don't, their sugar level doesn't go up, and so on. So medical need and a genuine medical need. If there's a genuine medical need, and the person is their sickness will get worse, then they're allowed to break that fast, and they will not have to. Of course, they'll have to make up that day of fasting, but they won't have to give the penalty. They won't have to keep 60 fasts in a row. Okay. There's another question as well. Let me see where it went. I think it was about i'tikaf at home. So inshallah, the next session we will be discussing the new Ramadan and how to adjust to our current situation. So the requirement for men to perform i'tikaf is at a masjid. Right? The scholars have written, La i'tikaf illa fil masjid. The i'tikaf must take place at a operating masjid for men. Yes, women are allowed to make i'tikaf at home, and perhaps this is an excellent year, which if the men cannot do i'tikaf, at least the woman can keep i'tikaf at home. Okay. Okay. What if you have a chronic illness and not drinking water worsen the symptoms? So it's also very interesting to note, Islam gives a lot of importance to medicine and doctors. And in fact, many laws in Islamic law, I'm a mufti, I'm not a doctor. I have my limits. I try to stay within my lane. So what this means is, Islam has left many rulings to the opinion of an expert Muslim doctor. And so alhamdulillah, a few years back, we had a Ramadan preparation seminar, and we had a doctor with us, and we had him answer those questions. So for example, if a Muslim doctor gives the green light and gives the go ahead that this person should not be fasting, and this person's health situation will get worse, the muftis and the scholar will step back, will say, yes, listen to your doctors. So also in this situation, I'm not aware of this particular chronic illness. I'm not an expert in medicine, but yes, if the doctor says this person should not fast, they need to drink water, and if they don't drink water, their symptoms will get worse, then listen to your doctor, listen to your expert Muslim doctor. The muftis will defer over to the doctor, and they will generally go with whatever the doctor says. And of course, the hope would be if it's a temporary situation, then the person cannot fast for that period of time, and then make up those fasts later on. With a chronic illness or terminal illness, you might have to go to the scenarios of fidya, or you might have to go to the scenarios of some other options besides fasting. Okay, another interesting question. Okay, does breaking a wallahi break your fast? What do you do if you break a wallahi? Okay, so this wallahi, the assumption here is referring to a qasam, what we call qasam or oath, right? So there's a whole separate chapter and separate class on oaths in Islam. So generally, as Muslims, we should stick to our oaths. Right? If we say wallahi, we're going to do this, we should do that thing. And if we swear on something, wallahi, this happened yesterday, we should be truthful. There are some separate laws for breaking an oath, and there's also a separate kafara or penalty for breaking an oath. But the question, the specific question here is, at the time of fasting, if a person breaks their oath, will this cause their fast to break? So this will not cause their fast to break. But while fasting, the spirit of fasting is, we should not be lying while fasting, we should not be backbiting, we should not also be making false oaths while fasting as well. So you can say these are from the ideal practices of fasting. If it's okay, we can end at this point in time. If you have further questions, inshallah, I can take your further questions. I hope this was beneficial. Inshallah, I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts all our fasting. Inshallah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the true reality of how a real fast should be in Islam.